St. John's has its highest preseason rank ever. The problem is, if they can't figure out a point guard, it's way too high.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shader, joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks so much for making us your first listen or watch to get your hump day going the right way. Special shout out to all the everydayers who are here with us and all the great members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord. If you want to join us there, that link is in the show notes, free to all of you. It's a great place to be. Joining me on today's show, it's our good friend Cam Salerno from CBS Sports. He is absolutely the man. We just had a great chat as we were getting ready to get things rolling here today. In the wake of the AP preseason poll coming out on Monday, Cam wrote a great overrated, underrated article for CBS Sports. You can find that linked in the show notes, by the way, if you want to check out more about it. But basically, he had 2 teams as overrated, 3 teams as underrated. So we're going to unpack those. And I think appropriately then, I'm going to ask Cam for all of them. So if they're underrated, where should they be ranked? And if they're overrated, where should they be ranked? And that'll be a good exercise. And then we'll wrap it all up on the back end, talking about who's outside of that top 25 right now that's going to crash the party and hang out all season long. My brother Cam, it's great to be together.
I'm so excited. Like I said, I'm so excited for basketball season. It's fun talking preseason stuff. It's awesome. Who's going to be the best players, who's going to be the best teams. But I'm just excited for games to get going because then talk about, games that actually happen and mean, stuff towards NCAA tournament. Yeah. So very excited.
It's all coming less than 3 weeks away now. All right, Cam, let's start right at the top. I teased it in the cold open, but your first overrated team, overrated, is the St. John's Red Storm and Rick Pitino. They're coming in at number 5 in the AP poll. It is the highest preseason ranking in program history and the first time they've been top 10 since the 91-92 season. Cam Salerno, why are the Johnnies overrated in your opinion?
I mean, it's the point guard position. I really don't know what St. John's is doing. Rick Pitino tweeted out months ago how Ian Jackson was going to be the next great point guard for St. John's. And then he pivots and says,
he's walking it back. Yeah.
Sellers is going to be our point guard for the season. And I'm just like, so what happened to the Ian Jackson point guard experiment? And, Ian Jackson didn't really play a ton of point guard. And so it just kind of it was a head scratching move from the jump. And, I kind of respected, if you recruit a kid out of the portal, and you have a concrete plan for him, sure, go ahead, do that. But, for them to pivot, I'm kind of less, on them. I like a lot of the teams that are below them as well. Obviously, Duke, number 6. Really like that ranking. Michigan, number 7. And, like I said, we're going to get into it. And as far as the teams I had as underrated who might be better.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still have concerns about the point guard position. There's no denying the talent. Rick Pitino is one of the best coaches in the sport. He's electric. I hope he shows up in his all-white suit very soon. But I don't know. I can't get behind number 5 for the Johnnies. I really can't. I think they're probably somewhere in, maybe the 6 to 10 range. Yeah. Somewhere right there.
So Cam, let me ask you this then. If we were to be able to look into a crystal ball and it's January, February, we're into Big East play, and they do have the point guard, let's just say Sellers is killing it or whatever it needs to be. If you could look into the future and see that reality where it's they're really talented and they've got the point guard figured out, at that point, would you say, you know what, then 5th is actually probably pretty accurate?
I would say so. I mean, they have the talent to be a top 5 team. I don't think there's denying that. Also, you factor in Rick Pitino, and what Rick Pitino can do with a team. There's no denying that. So I think if they figure out the point guard position, as Big East play comes around, I think they'll be, justifying that ranking. Just for now, I could see them dropping some games and people overreacting. That's like I said, I will say this: college basketball is the best sport because the best teams play each other in the preseason. not preseason, but like, the non-conference part of it. With college football, you definitely get some primetime games as far as non-conference action, but I feel like with conference realignment, you get less of that. And so, you get the Players Era tournament. I know, the Maui Invitational is maybe not as stacked as it used to be, but you still get some great games during feast week. So I would say, if we can look ahead in 2 or 3 months and St. John's does figure out the point guard position, then I think you could probably justify that they're a top 5 team. But until then, I don't think I can give them the benefit of the doubt just yet.
So you said, Cam, and let's lock it in. A more accurate preseason ranking in your mind is 6 to 10 in that range somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I think I would probably rank, a team like Louisville, maybe Kentucky, BYU, Michigan obviously has some question marks, like, with just the players they lost. Duke, I think I'd rank them all ahead of St. John's right now. Okay. But I will say the AP voters have a tough job to do. Like I personally don't spin an AP poll. I was like trying to do like the math, like, okay, if I put this team here, that means I have to drop this team and vice versa. So it's definitely, I would say if you're listening at home, try to do your own exercise, because then it's like, okay, well, I haven't ranked BYU and I already have 10 teams, or I have St. John's 5th, but I have Duke 6th. I think they're better than them. So try the exercise at home. It's not as easy as it sounds.
It is not. I cannot imagine, as your colleague Gary Parrish does, literally ranking 25 teams every single day. It's bonkers stuff. Now, Cam, you had another overrated team, and interestingly enough, we were talking about Ian Jackson. It's his former team, the North Carolina Tar Heels, who were ranked 25th in the preseason. In your article, you talked about hey, I believe in this front court. I think that's going to be their strength with Henry Vasar coming over from Arizona, Caleb Wilson, the dynamic freshman. But your quote here was, however, I think it's more likely that North Carolina finishes the season unranked than higher than 25. So, Cam, if I'm reading between the lines there, that tells me you believe in the front court, but maybe not in the back court. Where are you at with it?
I mean, I like Trumbull a lot. I think he's a good player. I like Kyan Evans coming over from Colorado State. I think both are pretty good players. I mean, I think it's going to come down their front court, though. How good can they be? How can Jaron Stevenson play a key role off the bench? He's someone who I've been really high on ever since he was at Alabama. And he gets to go home back to the Chapel Hill area. So I'm a huge believer in their front court. I mean, Caleb Wilson is going to be a really good player for them, and I'm just really excited to see what their front court does. But I don't know. I still think the ACC is just a weird league where it's, I don't know. Cause I think the ACC poll just came out today too. And I believe they were third.
Yep.
So behind Louisville and Duke.
Yes,
yeah. And it's, I was looking at the poll too. And once you start getting down, it's it gets real grim. It's this team is definitely not going to the NCAA tournament. So I'm really, I believe in North Carolina to an extent, but I'll get into kind of more reason why I'm not a huge believer in them as well.
Yeah. So Cam, obviously, I mean, in our exercise of what's a more accurate preseason ranking, it's hard with the Tar Heels because if they're 25th, a more, and you think they're overrated, obviously it would be under or out of the top 25. So maybe I'll ask you this way about Carolina. Would you have them anywhere in others receiving votes, or do you think they're not even worthy of a top 25 vote?
I think they're definitely receiving votes. Like I said, I think I would have probably had NC State there. I think I have NC State as a better team than North Carolina this year. Might come back to haunt me. I'm a huge believer in Will Wade. Love Darren Williams. Love the Porter class they got. So I think that's how I justify it, because I think NC State is definitely going to be a higher and better team than North Carolina this year. But kind of my other point too is I don't think Hubert Davis should get the benefit of the doubt just yet. I mean, look at the last 2 years.
He hasn't earned it. He hasn't earned it in these first 4 years.
Yeah. And preseason number 1, misses the NCAA tournament, barely makes the NCAA tournament last year. Probably should have been left out, but obviously they won in the first 4. I almost said Final 4. Against San Diego State, they destroyed them. So they earned their keep. They played Ole Miss hard, but I just think this is a make or break year for Hubert Davis. If North Carolina, like I said, North Carolina is a program with a high standard. Making the NCAA tournament, that's nothing. North Carolina going to the second and third week in the NCAA tournament is what really matters. So I think there's a huge, weight on Hubert's shoulders this year if North Carolina doesn't perform, because, North Carolina is one of the best jobs in college basketball, point blank.
Yeah,
And,
period. End of sentence.
there is a laundry list of active head coaches you can go after if Hubert does get fired that, would be great replacements. So I think this is a make or break year for Hubert. But obviously, if they meet expectations, I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. But for now, that's how I kind of look at it. I don't think he deserves the benefit of the doubt yet. I like their talent. I like their team. Like I said, I like Tremble. I like their front court. But for now, I think I have them below NC State. And, for that exercise, I would have them as overrated.
Yep, makes sense. Wait and see approach. We'll see how it all comes together. You mentioned Darryn Williams. You mentioned the ACC preseason awards coming out on Tuesday. Darryn Williams voted the ACC preseason player of the year, coming over from Texas Tech to NC State. Now, we move, Cam, from overrated to the underrated teams. You got a trio of them. And interestingly, as I look at these teams, all three of them project to be led in big ways by dynamic freshman guards. We'll look at these three underrated teams all coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Mazda, who crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes, man, they sweat all the details, and Mazda brings that same level of intentionality to how they craft every single model. You can feel that incredible Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost every season. Because with Mazda, everyday drives feel like anything but, from the smooth handling all the way to the intuitive controls. And like all the college basketball players, Mazda sweats every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda moved. This episode is also brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, which is powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, you're lifting, or whether you're cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach your peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching. It actually tracks your reps. It suggests the right weight. I'm terrible at picking the right weights for my lifts, and it corrects your form, making sure that every rep is safer and smarter. Plus, the personalized class recommendations, they keep you engaged. You get these tailored workouts tailored to your vibe and energy level each week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. All right, Mr. Cam Salerno, CBS Sports. We move now from talking about some overrated teams to your three underrated teams. I'll go ahead and just name them all, but we'll take them one at a time. First up is number 11, Louisville, year 2 of Pat Kelsey. Then number 14, Arkansas, year 2 of John Calipari. And number 19, Kansas, year 8 million of Bill Self. So let's start with Louisville. I know we're all stoked for Mikel Brown Jr., but it ain't just him. What does this team bring to the table that makes you think that even being 11th is too low?
I mean, I love Pat Kelsey. I think he's a terrific basketball mind. But like I said, I think it all starts and stops with Brown. He is a true floor general. When you watched him play this summer, he just was electric. He is someone who just rising up draft boards. I think the top 3 of the NBA draft is pretty solidified with the 3 names that we've talked about, Boozer, Devonsa, and, Darryn Peterson. But I really think he has a strong case for the 4th best player in this class. And that's pretty wild, because I think he's a terrific talent. I'm a huge believer in Louisville. I really love what they did in the portal this offseason. I think they can compete for the ACC title. This is a team that has Final Four pedigree. It's hard sometimes following up they caught lightning in a bottle by winning so many games. The expectation for Louisville basketball 2 years ago was on the ground. They were losing, they were getting blown out by, not great teams that they should be beating with the program of Louisville stature. And for them to win, I think it was 28 games last year, and go to the NCAA tournament and Kelsey's first year, like the expectations are sky high. So I mean, I think they are a surefire top 10 team. Don't know exactly where I'd probably put them. I think in that maybe 6 to 8 range, about there. So I think that's probably fair. Like, would it shock me at all if they're a top 5 team at any point this season? Not at all. So I really love the talent, and like I said, Brown, it's a real deal. Like I think college basketball fans are going to fall in love with him.
And man, there's all you talked about the transfer class. There's all the shooting that comes in. Isaac McNeely from Virginia was the leading 3-point shooter in the ACC last year. He's still around. Ryan Conwell is an absolute dude coming in. Adrian Will, I mean, just so many dudes that should make a ton of sense.
Willie was a guy who flew under the radar. Like I watched him a lot.
Very much so. That's a good word.
And it's funny because I thought he was going to end up at Alabama when, just logically, his coach at there was a assistant Alabama a while back. So I was like, oh, maybe he ends up at Alabama. And of course he goes to Louisville. I think he's going to be a really good player off the bench for them. But yeah, huge believer in Pat Kelsey. Love what they're building. I think they're going to have a huge year.
Ali Khalifa coming back from redshirting last year. Lots of fun stuff. And folks, if you haven't read Cam's article, I'll just quote him to you. I would be very surprised if Kelsey's squad doesn't finish ranked in the top 10 at the end of the season. I love it. We'll see if the Cards can challenge John Shire and Duke for the ACC championship. As Cam said, a more accurate rank in his mind would be 6 to 8, which is right around where the Blue Devils are. Cam, let's switch from Louisville. Let's go down to Fayetteville, Arkansas, where John Calipari is in year 2. He also has a dynamic freshman, and as you would guess, not just one of them, that's going to be one of his guards. What do you see from the Hogs?
I mean, unless things go awful again, there is not a chance they're starting as bad as they did last year in SEC play.
That's right.
If they can just be steady and then get better as the year goes on, like they did last year, I think they're gonna be at the top of the SEC, like in that discussion. Coach Cal, I think the thing with him, like going back to his time at Kentucky, was he's the king of one and done. Like there were so many players he produced that you knew that when they signed him, they were gone the next year. And I think what's different about his team this year is like he has a lot of continuity coming back. Carter Knox, DJ Wagner is a 3-year player now, going to be under Coach Cal. Like they have Billy Richmond, another guy. Like they have a lot of return experience from a team that probably should have been playing in the Elite 8 if they didn't blow a huge lead against Texas Tech, a game I was at. And it was crazy to see that collapse in person. But Arkansas, I think, is going to be a much improved. I think building a team from scratch in like the modern era of college basketball is so tough. Like I think some people are really good at it, some people aren't so good at it. Like, and it just it really comes down to the portal class that you're able to land. Like you can flip an entire college basketball roster overnight, through the portal, which is just nuts.
You just talked about Pat Kelsey. He's done it, right?
Yeah, no, and I like what they're building this year. I think they're going to be better than last year. And last year they were just like they just started so slow. Then that win over Kentucky at Rupp, like that kind of really reignited their season. But I think they're going to be a lot more competitive this year, and they're going to be a lot better too. So really looking forward to that.
Man, very interested to see what Darius Acuff does and the rest of the squad there. We'll see. Cam, quickly before we go to the Jayhawks, Arkansas right now ranked 14th. What's your more accurate ranking where you think they should be?
I think they'd probably like 11 to 13. Like I think they're just a little slightly higher. Are they better than Louisville right now? I don't know. I had Louisville obviously was 10th. I think I had them a little higher in mine. So I think they're a few spots above. I think, like I said, they're going to have plenty of chances to improve their ranking. I think that's like the beauty of college basketball. Like you're playing multiple games a week. You're playing a lot of ranked teams. So they're going to have a chance to improve quickly. So I like them to be a lot better this year.
All right, Cam, your final underrated team is 19th ranked Kansas Jayhawks. Another team who's going to rely heavily on a stud freshman lead guard. Mr. Salerno, I'm sensing a trend in your underrated teams here.
Freshman guards, baby. Like they win games. I mean, Darryn Peterson, man,
He's a dude.
he is the best guard prospect I've seen in a long time. Like, he has a chance to be special. Like, he is the difference. Not having him, I don't know where Kansas would not be ranked if they didn't have Darryn
Oh, sure.
Peterson.
No, not a chance.
Absolutely not. But I mean, he raises the floor of this team, but he also raises the ceiling. Like, look what Cooper Flag did last year. Like, he obviously Duke had a ton of talent around him, but he raised the ceiling and the floor of Duke. And I think that's exactly what Darryn Peterson can do. And, labeling Kansas as underrated is just nuts because, they haven't been this low since 2008. And, this is kind of unfamiliar territory for Bill Self. Like, they were the preseason #1 last year, and they kind of fell flat on expectations. But, Bill Self has been super candid in saying that Darryn Peterson's the best player he's recruited. And that's pretty bold of him to say when you had a #1 overall pick in Andrew Wiggins about a decade ago. So super high on Darryn Peterson. I think he's electric. Like, I think he is a stud. And also too, like, it's so cool that the top 2 picks in the NBA draft very well be AJ and Darryn Peterson. Here's a quick trivia question for you.
Okay.
Can you name the last time players from the same conference went 1 and 2 in the same NBA draft, not on the same team?
Oh, but not from the same team.
Yes. I looked it up today because I was really curious.
Okay.
It's fairly recent, like the last 10 years.
Okay. From the same conference. There's been so much conference realignment. That's hurting my brain right now as I process this.
I'll give you a hint. The conference is technically it exists, but very, not really.
So Pac-12.
Yes.
Who would that have been? What's his butt from Washington that went #1?
Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball, baby.
Lonzo went 2.
Yep.
Boy, that's
had to stump you on that. So
that's a good one, Cam. That's a great little nugget.
Yeah.
Let me give you a nugget of my own here. How about this? Kansas has finished outside of the top 3 in their conference each of the past 2 seasons. First time doing that since the early 80s. But Cameron Salerno, I went back and looked this up. Never in the history of Kansas basketball have the Jayhawks finished outside the top 3 in their conference 3 straight years. They're looking at a reality where that might happen for the first time ever, and James Naismith is turning in his grave.
I believe it was, don't misquote me, but I think it was like 16 out of 18 years they won the Big 12. Like, it was some just crazy streak, and then Houston joined the party. And right. So many people like doubted Houston. They're like, oh, they play in the American. Like, are they going to be able to compete in the Big 12? Not only did they compete in the Big 12, they were dominant. They were by far the best team. Like, I think they won 19-1 last year in conference play, if I'm not mistaken. So they're just a juggernaut. So
it's crazy, and they're right there again.
Kansas has some work to do, but like I said, Darryn Peterson is going to be the difference for this team. If Darryn Peterson plays up to his potential, which I think is a 20-point per game scorer easily, like, this team is going to be able to outlast preseason expectations. But like I said, the Big 12 is so good. Texas Tech, Arizona, BYU,
Iowa
Baylor.
State.
Like, there's just so many good teams in the Big 12. It's a bloodbath. So if Kansas can compete, it's going to be because Darryn Peterson's a superstar.
All right, Cam, last question here, and then we'll get to our outside the top 25 choices. Since Kansas is underrated at 19, where do you think would be a more accurate landing spot for them in this preseason poll?
I think anywhere between like 16 and 18. I think I'd probably have them above Iowa State. I have historically been lower on Iowa State in the past, but I think Kansas is slightly better than them. So I think I'd have them in that range.
All right. So far, Cam and I have been looking at teams in the preseason AP top 25 poll, but it's guaranteed, as always, there's teams that are going to jump in from the outside. Who are some of those teams in Cam's mind? We'll ask him about it in just a second. Right after I tell you about Wayfair, y'all, the holidays are going to be here before you know it, which is exciting, but getting your home ready for guests and celebrations, it feels like a lot. It's so much work. And so, maybe your silverware needs a refresh, or the guest room could use new bedding, or you need new decorations for the front porch, whatever. Wayfair has everything you need to get your home ready for the holidays, from Christmas trees to wreaths to bedding, cookware, outdoor inflatables. What's up? It's your one-stop shop for every room in the house and outside it. Wayfair makes it easy to personalize your home for the holidays with a huge selection, fit for every style and every budget. And with free and easy delivery, even on the big stuff, you can get everything you need without the hassle of huge delivery fees. So now, instead of stressing about getting the house ready, you can actually enjoy the holidays with friends and family. Get organized, get refreshed, and get ready for the holidays for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. Again, that's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. This episode is also brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, you need to get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. With over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Plus, their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. Once again, that's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Cam, super fun conversations about your overrated and underrated teams. Once again, folks, if you want to go read his article, you can find it linked in the show notes. What I want to ask you now is a different kind of question, Cam, but we've seen that preseason AP top 25, and we know that there's a whole bunch of teams sitting in the others receiving votes, or even outside of that, just knocking at the door, waiting their turn to get in here. So what I want to ask you is, who are some teams outside that preseason AP top 25 that could jump in and be mainstays throughout this season? Who are you looking at?
I got two for you. I got NC State and I got San Diego State. The latter, which I think has a huge opportunity during the first month of the season. I was looking it up. They played Michigan, and I saw in Ken Palm, Michigan would be a current 4-point favorite. I believe that is the opening round of Players Era, if I'm not mistaken. So that's a huge opportunity for them to probably play a top 10 opponent. And, San Diego State has two potential first-round picks on their roster, and Miles Byrd and Magoon. And I just am really impressed. I mean, Brian Dutcher is just an incredible coach. I don't think he gets enough love for how good of a job he does. Like, it doesn't matter who's on his roster. Like, he is one of the best coaches in the game. And, for NC State, Will Wade is just electric. Like, his personality is just second to none. There's not many personalities in college basketball like Will Wade. Like, I think when I think of Will Wade, I think of when reporters asked him, "Are you interviewing for the NC State job?" And he said, "Yes." Like, during the NCAA tournament, he's very transparent. He's honest. He's candid. And, he just, I think, is going to elevate that NC State program. And, kind of like the hope for the ACC is, you have Louisville obviously in the polls, you have Duke in the polls, you hope North Carolina stays in the polls, and also NC State, you hope they sneak in too, and then you'd have, multiple ranked teams in the poll. And I think the ACC needs that. Like, the ACC is like, the bottom of the ACC is real grim, but the top could be pretty good. So I like NC State a lot, like San Diego State. So I would not be surprised at all if both those teams are in the AP poll for multiple weeks as college basketball season goes.
Let's take those both in kind of reverse order of what you talked about. Let's stay with NC State, Cam. I think you're right. When we look at the ACC, like part of what's made the SEC so good is they've brought in all this great top flight, top tier coaching. That's what part of what makes the Big 12 so good. And you see the ACC starting to do that again. Pat Kelsey, we talked about earlier in the show. Now Will Wade, and you add that to some of the other young up-and-comers, right? We saw that older guard now gone from the ACC, and so I think you're right. NC State and Will Wade, man, that's going to make that whole triangle area great in North Carolina with Duke, with Carolina, with NC State, and really excited to see what Will Wade can do there very quickly as he was able to do at McNeese as well. Cam, let's go to San Diego State. And just, yes, you're correct. That game against Michigan is the first night of the Players Era Festival, Monday of Thanksgiving week. I think it's 10:30 Eastern tip on True TV. It ain't just for the tournament. You got to go find
I'll be watching.
So, Cam, you're spot on, man. It's crazy to have these two really high-level guys. Hopefully Magoon Gwath can stay healthy this year because he is going to be a dominant force in the Mountain West right before San Diego State heads off to that reformed Pac-12 we were just talking about in the last segment. Cam, let's look at the mid-majors in totality, because I'm curious where you would have the Aztecs in that mid-major power structure right now. Are they your top mid-major team? Where are they at for you?
I think I would have them behind Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's, shocker, they're the best mid-major team.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know if we can consider them mid-major anymore. And when they go to the Pac-12, I don't know if we consider them a mid-major either. So I think I'd have San Diego State second. Like I said, I think it's going to be a really interesting mid-major picture this year. But yeah, I really like San Diego State. They got absolutely embarrassed in the first four against North Carolina. So I think they're going to come out strong this year. And like I said, we're less than 5 years removed from San Diego State. That should have been a number one overall seed or number one seed in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, COVID canceled the tournament, but I really like their talent. Like Brian Dutcher, I think he's a terrific coach. So
not only that, but making the national championship game just a couple years ago. You talked San Diego State and Gonzaga. Super excited to have them in the same conference starting next year. And Cam, I'm with you. I'd have Gonzaga 1, San Diego State 2 of the mid majors, and then I think there's this quintet just behind them in another tier of Utah State, of Memphis, Boise State, Dayton, and St. Mary's. And so we got some other competitors there in the Mountain West if that proves to be true. But yeah, really interested to see as some of the Power 5 teams beat up on each other, if San Diego State can just slide right in there and be a staple in the top 25 this year. Going to be a lot of fun to see. Anything else on teams just outside the top 25?
I don't know. I probably don't have much more to add, but yeah, like I said, NC State I think is really exciting. Going back to the Mountain West too, it's I feel like the next tier of teams is the teams are going to beat up each other on the Mountain West because like I said, we almost had a 6-bid Mountain West less than 2 years ago, and just New Mexico was electric, and Boise State was really good, and Utah State was really good. So just a lot of Mountain West, I think is just so fun to watch. It's a really fun conference, and it's kind of unfortunate. It's gonna this is the kind of last year of Mountain West, but the Mountain West merging with the Pac-12, it's kind of the same thing. So really like what the hoops that we're going to be seeing this year. It's a perfect late night appetizer, especially if you live on the West Coast when there's no football on. And it's a Wednesday night, and you turn on the TV, and it's Utah State, San Diego State at 10 p.m. Pacific time, or Eastern time. So perfect little appetizer, to get you through the week. So I love Mountain West basketball.
Oh man, it's going to be a lot of fun, Cam. Yes, we gotta live it up while it's the last year of the Mountain West as we know it. Folks, make sure you go check out all of Cam's great work at cbssports.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at Cameron Salerno, Salerno, numeral 1 on the Twitter machines and other social medias and all of that. If you've not subscribed to our show on video and audio, make sure you do that now so you don't miss a second of Locked On College Basketball in the lead up to and during the season. We're here with you 5 days a week and even more on the weekends once the season actually gets going. As always, want to say apologies to the Lawyer family. Let's go Wild Popes. Cheers to the McBruins. And until tomorrow when we've got our Louisville preview. Peace.